We're going to continue with Unit 10, and we're going to talk about running off the road and how to get back on. Let's watch video 10.4, 10.3.2.
If you could prevent pain, heartache, loss for yourself and others, you would. That's the thing about single-car run-off road crashes. They're totally preventable.
Of the collisions I have investigated, some of the reasons for run-off-the-road crashes are driving too fast for conditions and simply not paying attention, especially in rural areas where we have sharp curves, steep drop-offs, and narrow shoulders, leaving very little room for error.
While the installation of new safety features such as rumble strips and rumble stripes can help prevent run-off road crashes, ultimately, safety depends on you. Obey the speed limit and slow down. Driving too fast for conditions is a factor in half of all run-off road crashes.
Driving at night increases the risk of being involved in a run-off the road collision. You have additional factors such as fatigue, limited visibility, and impaired driving.
Late night is a peak time for run-off-the-road crashes. Be alert, awake, and alcohol and drug-free. If you're too sleepy to drive, don't. And always buckle up before you drive. Seat belts are the single best way to protect yourself and your passengers in a crash.
First responders see firsthand what a difference a seatbelt can really make. To get in the car and take that simple action of buckling up can be the difference between walking away with a few bruises and never walking again. It really can make a difference.
And if you do run off the road, learn the driving skills to maneuver back safely. The #1 tip from America's best drivers: don't overreact.
What you do behind the wheel in a split second can make a world of difference. The first thing to remember if you find yourself driving off the road is to stay calm. Overreacting is the worst thing you can do. If you run off the road, remain calm. Keep a firm grip on the steering wheel, stay off the brake, stay off the gas, and quickly check for traffic in the front and the rear. If possible, reduce your speed by coasting down to 20 or 30 miles an hour. Align your off-road wheels with the road about 12 to 18 inches off the edge so that both tires are free of the pavement. We call this straddling. It keeps the tires from scrubbing the pavement and gives you more control. With small inputs, steer back onto the road. As soon as your front tires strike the road's edge, apply pressure to the steering wheel to keep your vehicle from crossing into oncoming traffic. If you can't drive back onto the road, drive as far off the edge as you can safely. Gradually come to a stop and call for help.
Additional funding will bring more safety improvements like rumble strips that save lives. But as drivers, we need to do our part for our own safety and because others are counting on us. The painful losses that come with run-off road crashes can last a lifetime for you and the ones you love. These are losses you can prevent. Practice safe, defensive driving. Pay attention. Slow down. Wear a seatbelt every time. And talk to other drivers about safety. Remember the 3 R's of safety when it comes to rumble strips or rumble stripes. Recognize rumble strips and rumble stripes when you see them on the roadway. Be ready to react in a calm manner if you run off the road and encounter these safety devices. Stay off the gas and off the brake.
What are some reasons for off-the-road crashes? Well, a reason would be you have to because there's something in the road. It could be because you weren't paying attention. Sometimes you're going to get in an accident, and like I said, you're forced to go off the road. What increases the risk of being in run-off-the-road crashes? Not paying attention, not searching far enough ahead, not being prepared. What is the #1 tip from America's best drivers when it comes to run-off-the-road crashes? Don't freak out. Don't get nervous. Your reaction should be just to grab the wheel, control the car. And what steps should you do if to run off the road? Well, you need to control the vehicle, and you're going to get back on the road, quarter turn, get up on the pavement and straighten the car out. Causes of run off the road crashes: inattention, drowsiness, steers into the shoulder to avoid a collision, like I said. Vehicle may collide with a vehicle in the next lane or drive off the far side of the road. Off the road recovery. So number one, keep a firm grip on the wheel. That's important. Grab that wheel. 2, slow down, ease off accelerator, straddle the edge of the pavement, steer back to the road when safe. Return 2 wheels at a time. Counter steer to stay in the lane. So there's your steps: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Key here is make sure you straddle, don't rub the tires, and you have to counter steer in order to stay straight and stay in your lane when you get back on the road.
Developing the skill needed to carry off evasive maneuvers requires instruction and practice. But here in the classroom, we can get a jump on in-car instruction by learning the procedures for making quick stops and quick turns, and deciding which to make when. We'll start with the maneuvers themselves. Here, there's enough room to stop, so let's do it. With anti-lock brakes, ABS, we just press down hard. ABS gets the most out of brakes. It applies them as fully as possible without locking them. The main thing is to have confidence in them and stay on the pedal. Some drivers let up on the pedal when they feel or hear the brakes thumping. With manual brakes, it takes a little more finesse. To stop quickly, we apply the brakes firmly. If the car starts to skid, we ease up a bit, then press down again. With a little practice, we can learn to get maximum braking without skidding. Braking is the safest maneuver, if there's enough room. But when there isn't, a quick turn is the only alternative. With our hands in the right position, we can quickly turn the wheel a half circle to the left, then a full circle to the right, and back to the middle. Let's see that in real time. Left, right, left, and away. With ABS, we can brake at the same time. This slows us down and makes the turn a little less tricky. With manual brakes, there's too big a chance of locking up the wheels and losing control, so it's best to stay off them until we finish the turn. We've seen how to turn quickly and how to stop quickly. In an emergency, we need to know how to decide quickly. When there's no one beside us, we're free to turn either direction. But we may not be so lucky. With the car beside us in the left lane, our options are reduced to stopping if there's room, or swerving right. What about here? We're too close to stop, and the right lane is occupied. So, no choice. What this time? Right. There's no choice here either. There's a choice here, but while we probably have room to stop, the car behind us may not.
With ABS, how can you stop quickly? Well, remember we talked about stomp, stay, steer. So you can stomp on those brakes to stop quickly. What is the safest maneuver if there's enough room? That is stopping. But a lot of times it's not enough room. What are the steps for making quick turns? You can make an emergency lane change. You're going to turn the wheel 180 degrees and come back as quickly as possible, like you saw in the video. And it's a bam, bam, bam. It's something, if you're going to try that, you need to practice maybe at 20 miles per hour, then 25 miles per hour. That takes some practice to be able to do an emergency lane change. If there's a car beside a driver in the left lane and they need to avoid a car ahead, what should the driver do? Well, if there's no room to the left and you can't stop, then you go to the right. Common sense. When to use evasive steering? There is space to the side. Stopping distance is questionable. There are cars close behind. So like I said, to do an evasive steering, you're going to turn the wheel 180 degrees, counter steer immediately. So it's basically bam, bam, hard left, hard right. Turn the wheel back to the original, and then turn the wheel back to the original position. This seems a little scary at first, but like I said, practice at 15, 20 miles per hour in a parking lot if you want to practice this maneuver. Evasive braking. If the vehicle has ABS, firmly press the brake pedal until the vehicle stops. You may feel the pedal pulse back against the foot, a vibration. If the vehicle does not have ABS, which is on the test, and most of you are not going to be driving cars without ABS, but if the vehicle does not have ABS, apply firm, steady pressure just short of lockup. Ease up on the brakes if the wheels lock, then apply the brakes again. Evasive acceleration. Used less frequently. Can be used to avoid crashes at intersections and in merging situations. May move point of impact to the rear of the vehicle if you can't get out of the way. And slow down once danger has passed. This is probably the most important slides you're going to look at, and that is control the consequences. Avoid head-on collisions. This will save your life. Again, I'll repeat. Avoid head-on collisions. Drive off the road rather than skid off the road. Hit something softer. Hit something going in the same direction. Hit a stationary object with a glancing blow. Hit a stationary object rather than approaching object. The key is avoid head-on collisions. Those are the ones that kill you. Dashboard warning symbols. Temperature light or gauge. Oil pressure warning light or gauge. Brake system warning light. ABS light. Airbag warning light. Check engine light. Door ajar light. Low fuel warning light. Alternator generator warning light or gauge. These are all self-explanatory. If the temperature light's on, you're overheating. It's oil pressure, you don't have proper oil pressure. ABS means ABS isn't working. There's a sensor, something wrong in the tire. Check engine light. Something's wrong with your engine. That's important. You need to deal with that right away.
We've had a lot of fun with these different training videos. I mean, I've had a lot of fun with these different training videos. For you, maybe not so much. I guess your fun quotient really goes up once you get your driver's license. For me, my fun quotient really... look, regardless, what I'm trying to say is no matter how lighthearted we've been, there are some things that are no joking matter. Knowing the rules of the road and knowing how to properly do things will keep you safe. It's always important to be prepared. When you're prepared for the worst, all your surprises will be good ones. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. What to do in the event of vehicle failure. This is one of the most common vehicle failures that can occur while you're driving. A flat tire or a tire blowout. All tires become worn out eventually, whether it's from rough use or just simply from age. Proper maintenance can help maintain their life, but eventually they're gonna die. It's just part of the life cycle of a tire. By being alert and replacing your tires once they become worn, you can generally reduce your risk of having problems with your tires when you drive. Although problems can still occur no matter how careful you are. But if you ignore your tires and continue to drive on them after they become dangerously worn, you can risk a tire blowout. A tire blowout is a sudden, rapid deflation of the tire. Kind of like popping a balloon at a birthday party. Now, in any emergency, you always want to remain absolutely calm. You'll need your wits about you to stay safe, and yelling and panicking isn't going to help the situation. In the event of a tire blowout, the first thing you'll need to do is grip the steering wheel firmly. The car may try to suddenly swerve in the direction of the blowout, so you'll want to be careful. Take your foot off the gas. And here's the tricky part, don't hit the brakes. You're going to be tempted to slam on the brakes, but if you do, you'll risk losing control of your vehicle. Try and resist the temptation. Instead, allow the car to gradually lose momentum and slow down, and brake very, very gently. Only if you absolutely have to. Use those space management techniques. See how handy those are? And try to find a safe place where you can pull off the road. You don't want to block traffic. While you're pulling over, turn on your emergency flashers so that all the other drivers will know that you're having problems. That way, they'll be prepared just in case. Now, once you're safely out of the way of traffic, go ahead and get out of your vehicle so that you can check up on the damage. If you have a spare tire, you should replace the blown tire so that you can drive to a service station and get it fixed or replaced. You might notice that the spare tire doesn't look quite like the rest of the tires. On a lot of cars, it'll be a tiny little tire that looks kind of like a donut. That's because it's only intended for emergency use and should only be driven on for a few miles until you can get to a service station. Don't just keep driving on the spare tire. Of course, the other option is to call for a tow truck. If your car doesn't have a spare tire, or if you are unable to change it yourself, you may just need to have your car towed to a service station. Whatever you do, don't try to continue driving on the blown tire, even if the tire is only partially damaged. Like, for example, the tread may have torn off, but the inner wall is still holding. Do not continue to drive on it. It's extremely unsafe. Just get it fixed. Then you can worry about getting where you're going. Of course, tire blowouts are only one of the major vehicle failures that can occur while driving. Accelerator problems are another possibility for vehicle failure. Sometimes it's a problem with the engine, or it might just be a problem with the fuel system. Whatever the reason, just like any other emergency, the most important thing is to remember to stay calm. Once you're sure you're really, really calm, go ahead and let your car slow down gradually. It's okay to use the brakes if you need to, but use them sparingly, since you may need the momentum of your vehicle moving forward to help propel you forward as you steer carefully out of the lane of traffic. Once again, use those space management techniques and find a safe place to pull out of the flow of traffic. Remember to use those emergency flashers to communicate your problems to the other drivers. Once you've safely pulled your vehicle over to the side of the road, you should arrange to have your vehicle towed to the nearest service station. Engine failure is another major vehicle failure. It can occur when the engine becomes flooded, overheats, or just plain old stops working. Each one is a little different, but they all have the same result. No vroom vroom. If you suspect that your engine has become flooded, it'll be pretty simple to tell for sure. You'll probably be able to smell a strong smell of gasoline. A flooded engine is basically when your engine gets too much gasoline and can't get started properly. If this occurs, put your foot on the gas pedal and hold it there firmly. Now turn the key in the ignition and hold it for 5 seconds. Now, if it doesn't start up for you, just wait a few minutes and then try it again. It may take a few tries, but if it's just a flooded engine, eventually it'll start back up again. If your engine is overheating, first off, turn off the air conditioner if it's on, and turn on your heater, as hot as it'll go. It'll be uncomfortable, but it will help draw heat off your engine for a few minutes, until you can bring your car safely to a stop. If the engine overheats while you're driving, make sure you can get the vehicle to a safe place out of the flow of traffic. If it overheats while you're already standing still though, shift the car into neutral and gently press down on the gas pedal. See if that causes the temperature to go down. No matter what happens, oh, yes, and one more thing, you might see steam coming out from under your hood sometimes if your engine is seriously overheated. Whatever you do, do not remove the radiator cap. When your engine is overheating, the coolant in your radiator is hotter than boiling water, and it can seriously burn you if you try to remove the radiator cap while the engine is still hot. Just leave it alone and get to a mechanic. Of course, engine failure doesn't just mean flooding or overheating. Sometimes your engine might just simply shut off when you're driving. In this case, remember, don't panic. If your engine suddenly shuts off while you're driving, first, shift your car into neutral. Immediately use those good old space management techniques and look for a safe escape path. You're gonna need to get out of the flow of traffic as soon as possible. Also, whatever you do, do not brake aggressively. You could risk losing control of the vehicle, plus, you're gonna need the momentum to help steer you to safety. Once you're out of the way of the other drivers, try and restart your engine. If it doesn't work, you'll need to call for roadside assistance. Remember to turn on your emergency flashers and raise your hood so that the other drivers will know that there's a problem. Oh, and one other thing. Even if the engine does restart, be sure and get it checked out by a mechanic as soon as possible, okay? You don't want to risk having this happen again. Of course, even engine failure isn't the worst thing that can happen to you as far as vehicle failures go. There's an even bigger problem out there. Steering failure is a very serious problem because it means that you won't be able to avoid hazards that might pop up out there on the road. In fact, steering failure makes you a road hazard suddenly, and a big one. In the event of steering failure, just like any other type of vehicle failure, the first thing to remember is don't panic. You still got control over your acceleration and your braking, so you can still bring your vehicle safely to a stop. First, turn on the emergency flashers and start pounding on your horn repeatedly. Doing this will alert the other drivers around you that you are not in control of your vehicle. That way they can be sure and leave you a wide berth. The horn will usually suffice. Screaming your head off is probably unnecessary. Now take your foot off the gas pedal and allow to start slowing down. You should also immediately shift down to a lower gear. If you're driving a car with a manual shifter, this will also cause you to rapidly lose speed. Finally, use your parking brake to bring your car to a stop as quickly as you can, but safely. Do not use the brake pedal. If you do, you might cause your car to swerve. And since you can't steer out of the swerve, well, it's just a really bad idea. As soon as you've brought the vehicle to a complete stop, be sure and call for assistance. Don't try to drive it again, even if the steering starts suddenly working. Just call for a tow truck and get it checked out by the professionals. Of course, there's one more type of vehicle failure that could occur that you'll need to be aware of. Sometimes, if the vehicle has serious enough problems, it can catch fire. Of course, we're not going to set this car on fire just to make an example. We don't have that kind of money. So let's just pretend that it's on fire. If your vehicle catches fire while you're driving it, be sure and immediately steer it out of the flow of traffic and get away from any people or buildings. Get out of the car as soon as you possibly can. Make sure any other passengers in the car are able to get out safely too. But don't spend valuable seconds trying to recover your belongings. Just let them burn. It's better to lose a few CDs and risk losing your life. If you believe the engine is on fire, do not try and open the hood. Just let it burn. If you happen to have a small fire extinguisher in the glove compartment, which is really a very good idea by the way, and you can safely reach it before you exit the vehicle, go ahead and grab it, but don't be a hero. If there is any risk to you at all, just stay away. Let the firefighters worry about the problem. That's what they get paid to do. Oh, and one other thing. Make sure you stay a safe distance away from the vehicle. Even if you're far enough away that the fire can't reach you, there still could be a chance that your car could explode. Remember the gas in your tank and all those other chemicals running through your engine? Well, when your car is on fire, those chemicals can turn your vehicle into something similar to a grenade. If it explodes, it may send debris hurling in all directions. Even if the car doesn't explode, a vehicle that's on fire can release dangerous chemicals into the air too. Carbon monoxide, for example, which is colorless, odorless, and extremely deadly if you breathe too much of it in. It's a good idea to move well away from the vehicle to avoid any potential debris and gases. Get across the street if you can do it safely. Don't stick around to watch the fireworks. Man, I told you, we don't have the budget to be blowing up cars. What do you think this is, an action movie? That was just a cheap sound effect. Seriously, I've got the sound guy standing right here in the booth next to me. Say hi, Doug. See? Doug's good people. Recording the voiceover. Point of all this is car explosions are bad news. Look how freaked out you got when you thought your car had exploded. Play it safe and keep plenty of distance between you and the situation. By maintaining a safe distance and letting the fire play itself out, you can make sure that you keep running smoothly, even if...
So, what if your tire blows out? Well, grip the wheel firmly. Foot off the accelerator, do not brake. Allow vehicle to slow, check traffic, turn on flashers, drive to a protected area, change the tire. Accelerator failure. Shift to neutral. Search for escape path, steer smoothly, brake gently, pull off the road, turn off the vehicle, repair the problem. So let me talk about this. So if you're driving and some reason there's two ways your accelerator is going to be stuck. One is a simple way, something on the floor in your car is maybe your floor mat. Just take your foot and clear it. If there's something internal, something that you have no control over, and your car won't stop or and it keeps speeding up and your brakes won't work, just turn the car off. That's simple. If you put it in neutral, yeah, that'll work, but it's going to blow your engine. I say you can still steer the car. You can still use your brakes if your car is off. Brake failure. Rapidly pump the brakes. This is going to help you build up some pressure maybe. Shift to lower gear. You can apply the parking brake. Remember the e-brake. You push the button, hold the button in, and just pull back, and that will start to slow your back two tires. And if all else fails, find a soft crash area. Some bushes or something like that, or you kind of rub against something on the side of the road to slow you down. Engine failure. Shift to neutral. Look for escape path. Do not brake hard. Pull off the roadway. Then try restarting your engine. If unsuccessful, raise your hood and turn on emergency flashers. Engine overheats. Turn off the AC. Turn on the heater though. It's going to pull some of the heat off the engine. Pull off the roadway. If all else fails, turn engine off. Do not open the radiator. This is important. I repeat, do not open this radiator cap. You will severely burn yourself.
1 in 10 teenagers will have a crash sometime in their first year of driving. Doing the things taught in this course will improve the odds that we're not among the 10%. But if there is a crash, we need to know how to deal with it, whether we're involved in it or whether we're just in a position to help. In the event of a crash, there are 4 things that need to be done. First, protect the scene. Second, call for help. Third, take care of any injured. And fourth, report the accident. The first and most important thing to do at a crash scene is to keep things from getting worse. If the cars can be moved, we need to get them off the road, out of the travel lane. We don't have the right to block traffic and possibly cause a second collision. Whether we can get off the road or not, we need to warn approaching drivers. It's the same things we do if we have some kind of a breakdown. Remember those? If we're stopping to help someone else, we move past them so we don't block the view of the scene or get in the way of emergency vehicles. Once the scene is protected, the next step is to get help. If someone is injured, call 911 as soon as possible. If we don't have a cell phone, we try to find someone who has. While help is on the way, it's our job to take care of any injured. We try to make them as comfortable as possible. We should see if there's a physician, emergency medical technician, nurse, or just someone trained in first aid available to help. We need to do our best to keep the injury from getting worse. That means moving the person no more than is necessary to avoid danger from traffic or fire if there's fuel leaking. The last step. If the crash is serious enough to cause injury or block traffic, the police need to be notified. If it's just a fender bender, the police don't have to be notified and may not come anyway. But always be sure to get the other driver's name, address, and telephone number, their driver's license number, and their vehicle tag number and insurance company. It's also a good idea to get the name and telephone number of any witnesses. One thing we should not do is to admit it was our fault. We're not qualified to say whose fault it was, and it could void our insurance. Just collect the facts and leave the rest to the insurance company. If the car is undrivable, get a tow truck. The police may be able to call one. We also have to fill out and send in an accident report within a certain number of days if the damage was over a certain amount. We can get a copy of the form.
What are 4 things that need to be done in the event of a crash? Well, make sure you're safe and you're out of harm's way. Make sure you help anybody that needs help. Get off the road. Make sure the car is secure. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you exchange information. And if it's severe, you need medical attention, make sure you get medical attention. What should you do to protect the scene? Well, you probably should make sure that you take pictures of it. You make sure that you get his information. If he hit and run, a license plate. What should you do to take care of anyone who's injured? Call 911. We all have cell phones. Okay. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they're safe. If they're not in harm's way, be careful about moving them. You could injure them more. But if they're in a car and something's wrong, you gotta get them out of the car. If a car's on fire, or if it seems like it could catch on fire. What information should you get from the driver involved in the crash? You want to get their insurance information. Make sure you record. You can take a picture of it and their driver's license information. Sometimes police officers won't show up because they're too busy with dealing with major issues. They'll just say, get your information and you can file a report later. Stop immediately, aid the injured, prevent further damage, send for the police, exchange information, record witnesses, names and addresses, and make sure you notify your insurance agent.